Welcome to our gathering. And my name is Anas, and I serve as the Managing Director of Project Sakina, which is an initiative that Darul Islam has put together to encourage our community to wake up to the reality of this global issue that affects the very core of our families. To adequately address the issue, there has to be a shift in the community, and we're going to have to do something different. What tends to happen when we think about it, domestic violence or many other issues is that we think of it as a problem, and then we think of it, how are we going to solve this problem? And if we talk about it this way, then we get pulled into talking about, well, so what are the causes of it? And who's responsible for this? Who's to blame? And what is the solution? And when we do that, then it's natural for us to want to hear from the experts that know all about this problem and understand it very thoroughly, and to figure out how to assign responsibility for this terrible thing that happens, who we can punish, or who it is whose fault is it, and come up with ways to ameliorate the causes of the issue. So when you do that, then it becomes something that experts need to take care of. And if the experts take care of it, our role becomes that of consuming their expertise. We become people who, the experts make programs for us, and maybe we go to the programs, or maybe we don't, or they will produce educational materials for us that we can read or study. But it's about those experts, what they're doing, and as consumers, in general, what happens to a consumer is they're giving your power away. When you're a consumer, you're giving your power over to the people that made the product, or the people that manage the company, or the government, or someone else is going to take care of this problem for you, and your role is just reduced to responding to how they're doing it. If you're looking at domestic violence that way, what you've got are, you've got experts and you've got social workers that are involved, and you've got shelters that have needs for more donations. So if we have an event like this and not enough people come, then obviously it means that, we didn't do the publicity right, or we didn't do there was some bit of expertise that we didn't properly address, and that's why the thing went the way that it went. And what I want to say to you is that way of looking at things will never address this issue adequately, because it will always be somebody else's responsibility what's going to happen. What I want to do is to encourage us to think about this issue and many other issues in terms of the possibilities for our community and the gifts that we have. What I want to say to you is that domestic violence is a reality in our Muslim community, but it presents us with an opportunity, individually and collectively, right here, today. It presents us each with the opportunity to acknowledge the reality and to respond to it in a way that is pleasing to our Lord. It is possible for us to have a community that acknowledges its challenges and sees those challenges as strengths. And it is possible for us to have a community that sees the value in speaking up about oppression that's going on within our community, just as much as it sees the value of talking about oppression of the community by some external force. So we just have a few of us here today, but I want you to think about what it means that there's anyone here at all, because it means that people have given up their day or part of their day to come to sit here to address this issue, which isn't particularly fun issue to talk about. And my feeling about it is that it's a great gift that anyone should come, that anyone is willing to even talk about it. All of that is a gift. And the people that have assembled are gifts in that way. So they are here, this group is here to consider this issue. And that, the fact that there are other people here for us to talk to share about it with, that is a gift to us. And so from my point of view, the room, there are lots and lots of gifts sitting around in this room, and the whole, in a certain way, we can think of the whole day as just being, all we're going to do is sit around and open gifts. That's all, that's the agenda for today, is we're just going to sit around and open presents. And there's a catch, and the catch is that a gift is only a gift when it's offered. And the only one that can offer your gift, the gift that you are, is you. So the way that we get to all sit around and open gifts together is if each of us is able to open ourselves and share with the others and gift each other's with our presence. Having said that, we have to acknowledge that this issue is a tough one, and not everyone is in the same place in terms of how much and how open they are, how ready they are to open themselves. And particularly with this issue, sometimes it may be that people during the course of the day might become overwhelmed by something or other that's going on. Some trigger has been engaged for them, and so they may not be in a place to share at a particular point. And it's important that we respect that. And I would, from my point of view, even in the case when somebody says, you know, I really don't want to talk about it, or I don't have anything to say about this, that's a gift to me as well, because that gives me the opportunity to honor their need to be quiet in that moment, and not to push them farther than they're willing to go. So what I'm trying to say is that the place, in order, especially with regard to this issue, but with regard to many, in order for us to get anywhere, we have to have a place that is safe to talk about it. And the safety is created by the way, the adab, or the way that we treat each other when we interact around this issue. And just as, you know, it's common for us as Muslims to begin our days with a recitation from Quran, and the imam always, or the reciter always begins that by seeking refuge from shaitan. And so what we're doing when we begin a gathering that way is it's trying to make a safety for the gathering itself. And that's what we're doing here today about this issue in general. We're trying to begin a conversation about something that needs to be a safe conversation for people to have. And you know, one of the factors that comes into that is that there's these people that perpetrate the violence, and those people are absolutely responsible for their actions, and yet their actions also occur in a context. So it's been reported, for example, that after the Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip in 2008, 2009, the incidence of domestic violence there has shot way up. Well, those Palestinian men, primarily, who are responsible for that violence, they are responsible. They are absolutely accountable for how they behave. And yet, we also can see that that violence is taking place within a larger context of political oppression that makes it more likely to happen. And over the last 6 months here in the United States, we've had a rise of Islamophobia. And anytime there's a rise in stressors in a community, there's going to be some people who can't take the stress anymore, and who crack, and who behave in some way that's not acceptable. And it's not, to say that the behavior is not acceptable, we can also hold that although it's not acceptable, or even as it's not acceptable, it is still the case that it's taking place in a context. So part of trying to address the issue now becomes, well, how do we address this context as well? So there's the immediate issue of what's happening in the families, and then there's what's happening outside the families that are creating pressure upon the families that tend to make more, statistically more, of the cracks to appear amongst the families. I want to say a little bit about how the day is structured. This day is not a day that's intended to send you all home with to-do lists of things that you have to get done, and there's going to be a follow-up meeting or something like that that's going to make you do something. Nor is it a day that's been structured so that you just sit back and people tell you all this amazing stuff, and you can kind of consume the experience of the day. The intention is for our gathering to fall somewhere in between those two, and we're hoping that by the end of the day we're so excited by the gifts that have been, all the presents that have been shared, that we're willing to stand up and be able to declare what it is that we think that we can, what it is that we think we want to do in terms of keeping the conversation going and keeping the movement going forward on it. So, and what I want to point out is that that's really different from problem solving. There's a way of doing things such that, well, you've got this problem, and in order to take care of the problem, we need to do these certain things, and now we have deadlines, and we have strategies that we're going to do that, and when we follow up with all of that, and that, it is effective, it does have its realm of action. But right here at the very beginning of beginning to create a consciousness and an awareness among our community, it's something else that's needed. And what's needed for us is that we really get more in touch with our sense of gratitude to Allah for the gifts of these people that were willing to show up on this day to talk about this terrible thing and share with each other. And our motion forward is drawn by wanting to express our gratitude to our Creator for living in a community where people will not just sweep it under the rug forever, but where people are beginning to find the courage to stand up and move forward, to take action. And that's a different thing. To be pulled by your wanting to express your gratitude is a lot different from being pushed because you've got this to-do list that has to be accomplished by a certain date or something or other will happen. So to begin with this kind of process, or to move this process forward, I'm going to ask you some questions. The first one of them is, how valuable an experience do you intend for this day to be? And the second one is, how much risk are you willing to take? The third is, how participative do you plan to be? And the fourth is, to what extent are you invested in the well-being of the whole community? So these are all questions about ownership. And what we're really asking you to think about is the extent to which you own your presence in this room today.